Hi, Stephanie Apple here, and I have something very exciting to show you. I just received an order in from Joggles, which is a great small business where they sell lots of great mixed media art supplies. I'm really into their stencils, and specifically the stencils by Elizabeth St. Hilaire. She has a new May 2023 release that I just purchased, and I'm really excited to check it out. I also got a couple of other stencils today too that I'm gonna unveil and then get to work on my gel plate so that I can test out the stencils. So the package always comes so nicely wrapped from Joggles, and it looks great. So the first thing, just a note from the business owner, from Barb, and then I got these great bird masks. I'll make a video soon that shows you some demonstrations with those. And then these are the new May release stencils, and it's a great set called the Dorothy collection, and it's all about dots and polka dots. And then this is a Mother's Day gift for my mom, and it is the Van Gogh collection. I thought my mom would really like these stencils, so surprise, I hope that she gets them before she watches this video. But they are on their way to her right now. So I'm just kind of going to go through and take a look at each one of the stencils up close so that you can see them. I love that big open area in that one. So that's Dalmatian Dorothy. And they all have cute little names that honestly make me want to watch The Wizard of Oz. Delightful Dorothy. I can link to all of these different stencils as well down below in the description. And you can tell just by looking at them that they're going to be really fun to use in layers, which is really what the gel plate is all about. Getting to pick different colors and put different textures and layers down on the gel press and make a unique look of art that is your own. That is, to me, what is so fun about gel printing in general. So I'm really excited to try all sorts of different combinations with each of these stencils and see what kind of cool designs I can come up with. And I can already see some cool backgrounds for some greeting cards that I'll be making in the near future coming from these wonderful stencils. That one's Halftone Dorothy. This one's really fun too. And so really excited. Spotty Dotty, what a cute name. Really excited to show you. Okay, so of course I've got to have my gloves in the bottle and my basic white Liquitex paint. Those are some staples when I'm gel pressing. And so what I'll do first is make a bunch of backgrounds. And my typical rule of thumb, unless I'm making a custom order, is to pull out 6 sheets of mixed media paper. I've got a bunch of Canson mixed media spirals. So I'll usually break the spiral off of the paper and then just put the stack next to me so that I have it handy, and I'll have 6 sheets, a goal to make 6 backgrounds. And so right now I'm mixing white with some iridescent pearl, the fine iridescent pearl by Golden, so that I have some shimmer already on my backgrounds. And I'm going to pull just 6 different backgrounds, and you'll see when I lift this up, it may not look like much at first, but oh, there's my little daughter's hand in there helping me smooth it out with my Speedball press. She desperately wanted to help today. So that's Lucy right there. Anyway, so once you get it smoothed out, you can see that the pearl is really kind of shimmery, and you can kind of catch it a little bit in the camera, but what it will do is when you're doing stencils, there's backgrounds that are going to show through, and I didn't want plain boring white paper to show through the backgrounds of the stencils. I want to have a nice texture and a nice shimmer to it. So I really kind of go for the golden, if you will, and I will pull out all of my different iridescents and textures. And so next up, I'm going to start with layers. And so this is a light phthalo green, and it to me kind of looks like a nice seafoam green. And I just felt like that would look really pretty with some of these dots. It's springtime where I am. And now I'm going to mix the Iridescent Pearl Coarse from Golden in there. So this is going to have more of a noticeable texture. which is super fun on greeting cards for me, because when whoever I'm sending the card to pulls it out of the mail, they're going to have that nice texture on the front of it. It won't just look like some printed, manufactured, sublimated card. It's a one-of-a-kind piece of art, and the texture really does that. Right now, I'm swirling the paint. If you just go back and forth, you're going to get blobs from where you actually put the paint down on the gel plate. And so that's why I'm doing that swirling technique right there. It really helps even it out, and so you get a nice print. And that's important even when you're using stencils, because you want to have the best possible print. And so then next up, I've decided to grab one of the larger dotted stencils, and then I'll layer that background. You can see I have 6 of them scattered out on the kitchen table there. And so I have the layered background, and I press pretty hard. I really do like the mixed media paper because it allows me to feel whether or not I've gotten the paper down in between the grooves of the stencil. That first print looks great, and so then I'll peel the stencil off and push down yet another piece of paper and use my Speedball press to make sure I'm getting a nice seal against the plate. There's a little corner where it didn't come up, so I'm going to press it back down. And there you go. So I have a great background, the reverse of that first image. So I've already made 2 really cool prints. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to cover all 6 of those pieces of paper that I started with. And I'm still using the Coarse Iridescent Pearl to give some good shimmer and texture to the plate. And I'll just keep rolling out more paint. And what's nice about it is that each one will have a unique look. They're not going to look identical to each other because it's art. And the way that you swirl the paint around and the way you do it all matters and makes a unique look. Now that I've made a few of these, I've got a good pile of my second round layer, and I have a bit of a ghost print left on the plate that I want to pick up. So I'm going to clean off some of the excess paint from my brayer just by, rolling it out on a side sheet. And those dots are dried. And so I'm taking a thin layer of white paint, and I'm going to roll it out on top of the dried dots that are left behind. And this is how I clean my plate in between. So it's not like squeaky clean, right? You just are trying to pick up that pattern so that when you start with a new stencil, you're getting a different look. And that's optional, of course optional. But I really always love the ghost prints I pull up when I clean my plate in between. And these things become sometimes my absolute favorite prints. Okay, so I've got a thin layer down on top of the dots, the ghost print, if you will, and I'm going to smooth it out and really make sure that I get the paint on that page, and I'm lifting. And that's a pretty cool look. If you look closely, you can see a lot of shimmer, and you can see kind of like a ghostly outline of each of those dots. So it wasn't a perfect ghost print because you can see I still have some paint down on the gel press, but that's cool. It's time for my next layer. And so I pull a darker turquoise paint and go ahead and put that down on the press. And I decide to mix in the Iridescent Pearl Coarse again, because I really just am trying to go for maximum glitter and texture without being obnoxious, of course. And so again, I'm swirling it around so that I don't get blotches, and so I get a nice mix onto the gel press and then smoothing it out across. Once I get it all the way to the corners, I'm going to grab that next stencil and lay it down. And this one has smaller dots, so I'm going to have to work a little bit harder to get the paper to pick up all of that paint. And so there goes the beautiful print, and I'm putting it down onto the gel press, and you can see I'm going to start to kind of get in there with my fingers. I don't show you all of the time that I spend doing this. I trimmed it a little bit out, but really if you can just take your time, and then you can peek a little bit by pulling up one of the edges to see if you were able to get enough paint picked up on that layer. And so that's what I'm going to do here as well. So really putting some good effort into it and some good muscle into it, because the stencil details are a little bit finer. So we pull it up. Oh, I love it. It looks beautiful. So look, I've used two dot stencils and my paper looks like a party. So I grab some deli paper. I'm thinking I'm going to pick up some more paint, and I think, gosh, there's actually enough paint for me to go right on to another piece of paper. So I grab another one of my prints that I had, and I decide I want to try to pick up the rest of the paint that I can see that's left in the dots. And so I'm smoothing it out more just to see if I can pick it up and make another print out of the amount of paint that I've already used. And so we'll see how well that worked here. When I lift it up, what we'll see is that I didn't get full coverage, but I did get a pretty good, I think, amount of paint on the next page. And so you'll kind of see how I address that. I set it off to the side as well. So almost ready to pull it up, just trying to get as much paint as possible. There we go. So that has a cool look too. It doesn't have to be completely uniform. So now that is a lot of paint left back on my gel press. And so you can imagine it's going to be a totally different look when I take my next print and lay it down. And so I try that here, and I use my press and my hand to smooth it out over the plate and try to get, again, the full coverage of the paint on there. And then I peel it up. And again, totally different look than the original. You can see that the first two layers of color peeking in between the dots. So now it's time to clean up my plate again. And so I'm going to use some iridescent pearl and lay it down onto the plate. I'm done doing my print, so I'm going to try to get some of this excess dark turquoise off of the brayer, although I didn't wash it, so obviously it didn't all come off, but I'm trying to, use my scrap piece of paper to clean it off as best as possible. And then I'm going to go ahead and smooth out some of that iridescent pearl. And of course, inevitably, it mixes in a little bit with what was left over on the brayer, which is kind of a neat look, right? And so I swirl it around, get a good thin layer covering the gel plate. And then I'm going to use a new piece of paper, so not one of the ones I've already printed on, but I'll grab a blank piece of mixed media paper and set it down on the plate and push down pretty hard. Get some good effort on there so that it sticks. I'm wanting to try to pull up as much paint as possible off of that gel plate so that I get a really cool design and I clean the plate all at once. And so can't wait to see it once I get it all smoothed out. Voila. So that is awesome. That might be my most favorite print of the whole batch, just because of how shimmery it is and how unexpected it is. So now I've got a whole stack of paper from this session and some future videos that I'll share with you where I explore the heck out of some of these dots. And so right now it's time to trim down my paper, and I find this to be possibly my most favorite part of gel printing is trimming the paper down. I like to take off the extra edges. I know some people probably use them, but that's just something I super enjoy to do. So I cut everything down with my paper cutter, and now I have rectangles that I can use. And so here's my whole stack. Look at how they turned out. I've got a good variety, and really, I mean, I just used a handful of colors, less than 5 colors, a couple of ghost prints in there that I'll use for different types of backgrounds, but they turn out pretty whimsical and fun, and nice shimmer from those great golden paints that I used that added that extra sparkle. So I hope that you have as much fun as I do with the new Dorothy stencil collection. Head over to my blog and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video. Thank you.